Kia ora, welcome to the Figma Kickstart course. We're going to design this simple portfolio website together. This is going to be a quick overview to give you an idea of what Figma is and how to use it. This video is for people who haven't opened up Figma before and are maybe a little bit intimidated by UX design. It can be a little bit daunting to get started. Alright, my name is Dan Scott. I'm an award-winning design instructor and chief course creator at bringyourownlaptop.com. And today, you're going to find out why so many people, including me, love Figma. Quickly, the what, who, and why Figma. The what is Figma? It is a UX design tool. What that means is it's used for mocking up websites and mobile apps normally, okay? Not to code them, but to design and test them before they go to coding. The who. Who uses Figma? UX designer is like the official term used for somebody who uses Figma, but loads of different people use the tool. Graphic designers, web designers, developers, marketers, product managers, entrepreneurs, content creators. Have I forgotten anybody? Probably. Loads of different people use this tool. Lastly, why use Figma? We use Figma because it's quick. You can design it in Figma, test it in Figma, make changes to the design based on those tests, and loop around really, really quickly before you move on to coding and maybe handing that over to a developer or maybe building it yourself in Webflow or WordPress. All right, a really good analogy that helped me was the architect and the builder. Figma, let's say, is the architect, okay, and coding the site is the builder. You could just go and build your house, build it and go, I don't like it. Let's knock it down and start again, okay? Whereas the quicker way would be to kind of work with the architect, do the drawings, make changes, and when you're ready, hand that to the builder to make. That is a much quicker process and really helped me kind of understand why the heck we'd use Figma and not just go and build it first. I don't know. It helped me anyway. All right, what do you need? First thing is you need a computer. You can use any old piece of junk computer. It will work. Figma is super forgiving that way. Then go to figma.com, sign up for an account. You can sign up for the free account. It is pretty amazing how far you can get with the free account. Basically, everything you need to do as a UX designer can be done in the free account. It's not until you get to some of the larger, more complex projects that you actually need the paid account. Also, there is a browser version and a downloadable desktop version. Either will work. They both are basically exactly the same. I'm going to use the desktop version because I hate working in the browser because I'm old and I like things the way they used to be. And it works on Mac or PC, it doesn't matter. I'm using a Mac. All right, so I'm signed in. We're gonna go up to this one called design file. Let's add one. Let's click the word untitled and call it portfolio V1 because we're professionals with our naming conventions. And because I've seen some of your files. You're untitled 07, I can tell. Or portfolio final V2. All right, let's create a page. We're going to use something called the frame tool. Okay, we never use the rectangle tool. Even for rectangles, we just use the frame tool for everything. Let's click on it, the little hash. And you can see over here in this design mode, there is some presets. Okay, so lots of the phone presets. We're going to go to desktop and use the very common desktop size. Let's go ahead and name it under my layers panel. Let's double click the word desktop and let's call this one our homepage, naming professionals. What I'm going to do is making sure this is selected. You can kind of click the name at the top here. I'm going to go to where it says fill instead of FFF, which is white. I'm going to pick any color. You can click on the square here and just kind of like drag it around. I've got a color already in mind. Took me ages to pick this gray. Now, if you are new to UX design, it can be tricky to pick colors. I'll show you a little tip. I'm going to use the frame tool because that's what we use. I'm going to hold shift down and drag out a rectangle. Okay, and I'm going to jump to a site that I like to grab colors from. It's called color.adobe.com. Okay, and if you go to explore and go down the bottom here to view and go to color themes, I'm going to say the most popular. And I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to click on the colors and you can see here are all the color codes. I can just click one to copy it back into Figma, and with frame 1 selected, I can click this FFF and just paste it in. Brings the color over. To get another colored frame, I'm going to click the word frame 1 and go copy paste. It's ended up all the way over here. That happens a bit. Okay, to drag it back over, grab the word frame, drag it back over, okay, and use your space bar. If you hold that down, you can move around the document. So hold the space bar down, click and hold your mouse, and you can move around. Drag the names. I'm going to have this one underneath, okay, and this color, I'm going to jump back to Adobe Color. Just click that once to copy, back over, and with the second frame selected, I'm going to paste it in and hit enter. I'm going to click the word frame and copy and paste it again. It ends up over there. I'm going to hit undo, which is Command Z on a Mac, Control Z on a PC. And I'm just going to grab these guys by dragging a box all the way around them and just go a little bit further over here. Then with this selected, I can copy and paste it and it doesn't hit all the way over. I'm going to do that a couple of times. and copy and paste the colors in. Let's engage super fast mode. All right, to zoom in and out on a Mac, it's Command minus and Command plus to zoom in. So on a PC, it is Control plus or minus. Okay, and remember, hold down the space bar to move around. Did anybody notice that I'm using the browser version, not the desktop version? That's how close they are. I didn't even notice. Anyway, I'm going to grab the type tool and I'm going to click once because I want a bit of text that goes on forever. It's going to be the name of my portfolio. Okay, and with it selected, I'm going to pick a font over here in the text panel. Click on enter. Okay, that's the default, and here's your selections. Now, where did they get their fonts from? The fonts are pulled from fonts.google.com. Let me show you. Okay, so it's this website, and you will find all the fonts that you have available here in kind of nice previews. I can type something to see what it's going to look like before I kind of go and start using it in my design. What I find really handy is finding a font and then finding a font that matches it. Often two fonts in a website or app are quite appropriate. So do a search for font pairing. Lately, I've been using this site here, fontpair.co, okay, and it shows me kind of like what that font would look like with this font pairing, instead of having to try it all out yourself. It's a handy trick. All right, I'm boring. I'm going to use Roboto. It's a really common font to use. I'm going to use Roboto, and I'm just going to play around with the weights by selecting this part of my name and going, instead of regular, you're going to be black. And portfolio, you are going to be thin. In terms of font size, it's really common to use either multiples of 8 or divisions of 8. So let's say 16 is a really common font size. You probably bumped into that loads. Add another 8 and you end up at 24. You probably noticed that one as well. Add another 8, 32. Those are really common sizes across lots of different features. I won't go into it here, but that's a good tip to know. It helps with some of the heading hierarchies to know what's important, what's not. You don't really want one that's 32 and another one that's 31. Very close, not sure who's the boss. Anyway, I'm going to start with a 16. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to zoom out a little bit and I'm going to add what's called a hero box. I'm going to use the frame tool. Get ready for your first shortcut. It's the F key. There you go. And we're going to click and hold and drag out a hero box. The hero box is because the main important hero often has the product messaging, the call to action, and the button in it. It's the hero. Now with this frame selected, over here it says fill. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to click on this little icon here and look down here. Ooh, there's all my colors that we made. I'm going to pick this kind of like ochre yellow thing. I'm going to grab my type tool again, and instead of clicking once for the type, I'm going to click, hold, and drag kind of over here because I want the type to break across two different lines. All right, I'm going to put some text in. I'm going to select it all, and because I use that font pairing site, I worked out that Playfair was a pretty cool one. Playfair display. There we go. I'm going to select it all. Let's make it multiples of 8 fonts. You don't have to pick these font sizes. It's just a good kind of like, I don't know, structure to work from. I'm going to go 72 because I'm a rebel. I'm going to use that kind of like creamy white that we've got, and I'm going to go italic. I'm going to go to my selection tool, which is this arrow at the top here, click off and grab this edge here and kind of get it to break onto the lines that I want. Actually, no, I want it on 2 lines. All right. Next up, images. Images, there's a few ways of bringing them in. The easiest way, I think, is using the frame tool, okay, and then click, hold, and drag it out to the size you want it to be. Not that big, okay, and with it still selected, go to fill, just click the word, and it fills it with a color. But if you click on the color, there's the option to switch it from color to image, and then go to choose image. Now I got a bunch of images for my portfolio. These are some of the things we make in some of my courses. What do we got? I'm gonna pick this one here, click open, and look, it's in there. Look over here, you got some basic control over your images, so you don't have to jump out to Photoshop. All right, next up, one of the interesting things about Figma is if I click on my text once and try and drag it around, it's kind of stuck to the frame that's behind it. Okay, by default, things like to pile inside of each other. You can see over here in my layers panel, I've got my home page, and there's frame 6, which is not a great name for it. Let's double click it because we are naming gurus now. I'm gonna call this one hero box, and there's my text inside of it. Now for most of you, your image will be there as well. How do I know? Because when I click it here, it's highlighted over here. And actually I want to call this one image 1. And I want it inside my hero box, please. I'm just dragging it down until it goes inside. Now, if I click off, I can drag this thing around as a unit. If I need to move the image inside of it, I just double click and I can move the image inside the frame. That's how Figma works. It's a little weird, but you do get used to it. Now, up until now, this is just like regular design tool stuff, images, text, colors, nothing really special. But from now on, we're gonna look at the Figma special abilities. There's 3 of them. We're gonna look at auto layout, we're gonna look at components, and then we'll look at prototyping. They are the magic that happens inside of Figma. Let's start with auto layouts. All right, special ability number 1, auto layouts. To make it, we're going to start with a frame. That's why we don't use the rectangle tool, because auto layouts can only be applied to frames. I'm going to draw out like a button size thing. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to go to fill. I'm going to pick out one of those colors that I made earlier. I'm going to go up to here to the rounded corners. You can just click, hold, and drag it. Okay, or you can type it in. We're going to use 8. There's that number again. I'm going to grab my type tool and put some text inside of it. So I'm going to click inside, and I'm going to say, let's say this is the buy button. All right, that didn't work because my text is over the top. Grab the selection tool, click off, grab this bit of text. I'm just going to make mine a little bit smaller. Then grab the type tool, click inside my button, and I'm going to call this one, let's call it buy. It's my buy button. The text is a little big. I'm going to select it all. I'm going to say you are my roboto. You're going to be bold, and you're going to be size of 16. All right, I'm going to click off on the background with my selection tool, and what you'll notice is my buy button is inside my frame 6. What is frame 6? We're going to double click it and give it a proper name. Let's call it my primary button. What you'll also notice, if I double click buy, I can drag it around, and it's kind of like just floating around inside of here. So it's kind of hard to get centered. I'm going to leave it there, but if we grab the parent, okay, my primary button frame, the thing that's around the outside, over here, I've got auto layout. Ooh, let's click the plus button. Dun, dun, dun. Cool, huh? Auto layouts wrap the contents inside of it. That's why auto layouts are awesome. And it gets even better. Watch this. If I double click this and say, instead of buy, I'm going to say, let's talk, okay, because it's my portfolio. Do you see? It's all stretchy. It responds to the text inside of it. Responsive design is a big kind of theme in web and app design, and auto layouts make it easy. Other cool things you can do with auto layouts, I'm going to grab my selection tool, click off, and I'm just going to actually zoom in a little bit. And what you'll notice, if I click the parent, okay, the outside wrapper, can you see these little lines around the outside? I can hold down my Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and just grab the top and the bottom. And look, I can see I want to do this stuff over here. You can manually adjust them over here in the panel, but we're using fancy shortcuts. And auto layouts get even better. Watch this. I'm going to hit Command 0 on my Mac, Control 0 on a PC to zoom out to 100%. I'm going to grab my type tool, which is the T key, fancy shortcuts. I'm going to type in portfolio. I'm going to click off in the background, go back to my type tool and click a second text box. And this one's going to be about, then one more, all on its own. Let's go contact. And what I can do is then grab my selection tool, drag a box around all 3 of these. Okay, so they're all 3 selected, and I can go up to auto layout now and watch. Oh, it lines them all up. What we can do is we can say the padding in here between these is currently 16. I want to switch it to auto. What that allows us to do is I can grab this. Can you see the edge here? Oh, it's responsiveness. It gets doubly better. Watch this. I can click on the word about, so double click it to select just the text, and I can say, actually, I want that over there. Oh, you can use your left and right arrows. Look at that. Ever played the distribute horizontally, but you meant vertically? I do that all the time, but with an auto layout, just does it all for you. It's nice. The other cool thing about it is I can say, all right, I want you to be there. You can see it kind of lines up with the edge. See this dotted line here? It's saying I'm going to try and connect to the top and the left, but I can say actually not the left, I want the right. And what that means is when you click this parent frame around the outside, where is he? Click the name homepage, okay? And when I drag the edge of it, watch this. Let's say I'm making a tablet version. Look, oh, it sticks to the top. Super responsive. There's lots of reasons why we like auto layouts, but that's just a couple of them. Go with the auto layout. All right, next up, we're going to zoom out, and what we're going to do is we're going to click on the word homepage, and we're going to go copy and paste. It should make a second version of it. Let's double click the word homepage, and let's call this portfolio. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of this stuff. I'm just going to leave the logo and the navigation. And now it's time for special Figma ability number 2. It's called a component. Now let's make one. So what we're going to do is let's show you why they're useful is because if I go over here and I say it's going to be called instead of the about, it's going to be the about us. And you'll notice that this one changes, but this one doesn't. And that's not a big drama when there's only 2 pages, but when there's like tens or hundreds, it is a big drama. So what we do is I'm going to undo that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this thing. I'm going to go back to this first one. And I'm going to say you, Mr. Auto Layout, are this thing here called a component. Nothing really changes except check out the icon in here. It's got a little icon, it's got this diamond thing. That's the component. Okay, instead of frame 1, we'll call this one the nav. And what happens is if I copy and paste this now and just put it over here, okay, onto the second document. When you copy and paste it, what you've done is you've taken this main component, the one that has the diamond, and you made an instance of it, this one here. And it's like the little hollow diamond. This is the main component, this is the instance. This is the parent, and this is the child. This is the boss, this is employee. What I mean by that is, watch this. When I change the word about us, okay, watch this over there, about, it's updating both of them at the same time. And it's probably more about me. This main component can control the instances. Let's go further. I'm going to grab the outside, okay, the word nav, and I'm going to say, let's add a color. Fill. I'm going to click on the box. I'm going to say that weird salmon color. Watermelon? Anyway, I'm also going to do the padding. I'll do it the manual way. Watch this. I know I want to be 16 by 8. There's that 8 number again. You see, this one updates. Oh, love components. All right, next let's make a really common kind of bit of page furniture. It's called a card. You can see here, they're just kind of like reusable blocks, nice and reusable, can be stacked, a really common element in web and app design. All right, let's grab the frame tool. We're using the F key now. Okay, we're gonna drag out a rough size. I'm gonna give it a fill. I'm gonna pick that kind of off-white that we're using. I'm going to draw another frame for my image, so the F key, and I'm going to click and drag it inside. Sometimes it doesn't go inside of the frame I need it to, because this is going to be my card, okay, and inside of it is going to be my image. This is going to be image number 2. I want it inside the card. Get in there. With it selected, I'm going to do what we did before. Let's give it a fill, but not a color. We're going to go to image. Click choose image. I'm going to go through and pick one of the things. And I click open, and with images, one of the other little tricks you can do, at the moment by default it's in this kind of like fill, so it just tries to stretch to fill the frame that it's in. I can go to crop, and what that allows me to do is I can adjust the frame separately from the outside image here, and that's what I want to do. I want to hold shift so it doesn't squish, and I want to get this kind of like cut in version. And I can grab the side and get all creative. Next, I'm going to cheat by copying and pasting the text at the top here. Okay, and I'm going to say, you, my friend, are the color of. Now, often, like, I want this color, but I want a darker version of it. And it's really common to, if you've got a set of colors, but you need a darker set, just grab them all, copy and paste them. Mine ended up over the top this time. I'm going to drag them to the side. What I'm going to do is go click on this one. I'm just going to go to fill, and I'm just going to drag it down a bit. Okay, there's better ways of doing this, but this quick and dirty way is a nice, easy way. There's ways of being a bit more sciencey. I'm going to go through and do them all. That allows me for a bit of accessibility because that's really hard to read against the background. So I can say new, and there's my new dark version of that color. I'm going to change the text. Okay, so now I want the type tool again. I'm going to click, hold, and drag out. So I've got a bit of text that kind of breaks along the edge here. I got some text and I've changed the size. Next, I want a button down here, and I could just copy and paste this one here. Okay, that would work, but we're going to loop back around and realize that this one here, we want to set it as a component like we did with the nav, so that we can actually change the button text, but kind of have this control with this main button. So let's do that. It is auto layout. I'm going to say you're a main component now. I could just copy and paste it like we did before, but another way of doing it is under the assets panel. Look at that, we've got some assets, our nav, and there's my button. I can drag him out, get him inside my frame and give him a bit of space. And the cool thing about it is we can go in here and say, let's talk. We're going to use all the same design, but this one's going to say more. I'll move it over, and what that means is, like we did with the nav, this is the boss, this is the employee, and if the boss says, hey, you're now going to be a padding of, let's say, I'll go 16, look, this guy changes as well, but he keeps that text. This is called an override. So it's basically the same, except the text is different. We can do more overrides. We can say this button is now this other color, but the control still happens up here. We can just say, actually, I don't want 16, I want 32. You can see whatever we haven't changed over here, whatever overrides we haven't done, like the color and the text, will still be controlled by the main component. Main components are awesome. And because it's an auto layout as well, it kind of stretches to fit the new text. Look at us, we're UX designers. Now let's push it further. Now I've got this card, I want a bunch of them, I could copy and paste them, but we know that if we turn them into a component first, it's really helpful. So we're going to use the shortcut Command Option K instead of clicking the button. That is Control Alt K on a PC. You can see here under my assets, there is my portfolio, and there's that card that we've made. We can drag out another one, or we can just copy and paste it, okay, and put it there. Another cool shortcut is Command D to get another one. Command D just duplicates the last thing you did. Okay, I'm going to grab all of them and copy and paste it. So I've got another set. Look at us. These are all instances of this main component. And why that's useful is I can go through and change these images. Let's do that. Double click to click the image. Let's go in here. Let's choose image, pick a different one. Let's go do them all in fast mode. I can go and change all of the headings here. So they're all different, but this main component here can control them all. Watch this. We can go into it, double click the button, and we can say, actually, I just want it up a little bit. Look, they all change. You can't see the bottom ones. There you go. They all change. We decide this text color is something different. Bam, they all change. That is the power of components. I'm going to copy and paste some of these over to the home page as well. Now this next one is a bit of a bonus. This is not even one of the special features, just a bonus. Watch this. If I select them all, I don't have to do anything, but watch this. I can say, all right, guys, all the padding, we want to adjust it to get it to fit. And see these little pink dots in here? I can move them around. Look at that. Just shuffle them around. Usually the client wants to move it, shuffle. We're trying to line everything up with grids and lines and rulers. Oh, Figma magic. There's loads more stuff like that in Figma, but let's get back to the special abilities. All right, special ability number 3, prototyping. Now we prototype in Figma. Basically it means we are getting this thing to kind of work. We're going to get all the buttons and things to work so that we can do something called user testing. User testing basically means getting this thing in front of our users, getting them to actually use the product and see if they're doing what we intended. And if not, we can go back to Figma, make changes, test again. This is probably the most key ingredient to being a UX designer. Okay, prototyping is easy. We've been on the design tab, switch to prototype, and let's go and let's say this button here, when it's clicked, it's going to go to this brand new page that I made, okay, off screen, okay, our contact page. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. What I'm going to do is, can you see this little blue dot that appears, this little plus? If I click, hold, and drag it, so when I click that button, it's going to go to the contact us page. How is it going to go? I'm going to say, let's move in. Then when we click on, say, the logo, it's going to go back to the home page. Let's do one more. Let's go into the portfolio here. I've double clicked on it and I'm going to say when the portfolio button is clicked, it's going to go to my portfolio page. And the cool thing about it is, remember we made this a component, a main component. Because we've done it to the main component, do you see all of the portfolios have gone to the portfolio page? We don't have to do it once. Look at us, fancy UX designers. Because this is not a component, I have to every time click the logo to go back to the home page. That's okay, we should make it a component, but let's give it a test. So let's click on the word home page and let's click on this big play button at the top here. All right, so here's my prototype. I'm gonna say, let's talk. It goes to the contact us page. Go back to the home page, maybe the portfolio page. Look at us. That's one of the big upgrades over something like Illustrator or Photoshop that people did a lot of their mock-ups in. Prototyping, we can get it to actually work. Bam. Let's talk. Let's send a message. Another page that I made while you weren't looking. I totally regret making it now. Anyway, let's go back to the home page. Now we're testing desktop, but this is something that I made for a mobile device. We can test on phones too. This is something that we make in our Figma Essentials full course. There'll be a link to that in the description. And that's the real power of Figma. You go from prototyping, then getting it into the user's hands, okay, do user testing, and see, do they do the thing you want them to do? And do they get lost? If they do get lost, let's go back. Let's change it and get it back to them. Iteration, nice and quickly. That is the power of Figma. What am I doing with my hands? So basically you can get to kind of a finished product in Figma, okay, signed off by the client, tested by the users, and ready to be handed off to be built, okay? And the builders have got a really clear blueprint to work from. Now, what would I do next if I was you? Honestly, I'd just go do my Figma Essentials course or somebody's Figma course. You want a kind of a step-by-step, organized kind of progression through Figma rather than, I don't know, zigzagging your way around YouTube. That's the long way. My one also has class projects, so you get to practice what you're learning, also a certificate at the end. And when you finish that, you might move on to the Figma Advanced course. There's links for all of those in the description. But basically learning Figma is practice, 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 practice. Lastly, if you're still here, let me know what you thought of this like Figma Kickstart format, like a quick overview. I'd be interested to know what everyone thinks. It's kind of new. But yeah, that is it. I will hopefully see you in class. Regardless, hi-da-da, goodbye. Awkward ending. Fade to black. Bye.